Okay, so I've done quite a bit of research and I've actually drawn up a short list of vehicles which may suit my needs. Now, these aren't in order of preference, it's just a list as I came across them. So, Mitsubishi Shogun Sport, so that was certainly a contender. Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now, my buddy Laz from Forest Walker, he's got one of those. Nissan X-Trail, nice vehicle. Honda CR-V, that's on the list as well. Suzuki Grand Vitara, yes, it may not be the obvious choice for everybody, but it certainly ticks many boxes, and obviously no list of a four-wheel drive would be complete without having the old disco on there. So I then started basically just making a few more notes, and just to sort of work out the main pros and cons of these vehicles, just to try and eliminate the list further. And I think in doing so we have to accept certain facts. We have to accept the fact that the vehicles which I've selected, they're all going to be rugged and tough vehicles, because the thing is, of course, many of these vehicles will share many similar characteristics, so there's no point in just listing the whole lot again and again and again. Obviously we need to accept the fact that they're going to be capable off-road, good on snow and ice, that sort of thing. We need to accept the fact that fuel economy, is only going to be, perhaps mediocre for a really big vehicle, perhaps weighing up to 2 ton, be it diesel or not. And obviously, as with anything, compromise is always inevitable. So anyway, let's just go down the list. What have we got then? Let's start with the Mitsubishi Shogun Sport. One of the pros certainly, is the appearance. This is a very stylish vehicle, especially if you can find them in black. Cons, I think the obvious one is the fact that, it's not a particularly refined vehicle. It's more of a truck with a saloon body. Okay, so it's a little bit of a tractor, but it's nevertheless, it still does meet many of my requirements. Now then, Jeep Grand Cherokee. So, as I say, my mate Laz of Forest Walker Outdoors, he's got one of these, nice silver vehicle. He recently did a video doing a little bit of very light off-roading here. These are very large, spacious vehicles, certainly tick many of the boxes. The only thing is that Jeep, they are pretty notorious for being unreliable. I think the Grand Cherokees have a slightly better reputation. Now, given the fact that I've got a budget of £7,000, maximum mileage of 50,000 miles, with full service history and all that sort of stuff, price might be a problem. Okay, now Suzuki Grand Vitara, for some it might be a little bit of a wild car. I mean, as far as I can see, it certainly, represents very good value for money. It's, the running costs are good, but on the downside is quite a smallish 4x4, so it hasn't ticked all the boxes, but it's still a very reliable and good vehicle. Okay, so that's why it's on the list. Now, Nissan X-Trail, if I'm honest, this is probably my favourite. This is known for its reliability. It represents good value for money. Having said that, to get a good model, a good late model, they can be quite expensive, and it's going to be pushing my 7,000 budget. Another one of the advantages is the fact that the running costs are good. It does have decent fuel economy. The cons, now, I think sort of pre-2006, some of these vehicles had big problems with turbos, and as I've already mentioned, whether I can get a vehicle with a decent specification which matches my needs for the budget available, it might be pushing it a little bit. Okay, so we've got a couple more on the list here. Okay, Honda CR-V. I mean, we all know that Hondas are extremely reliable vehicles. One of the disadvantages, one of the cons, they can, because of their reliability, because they've got a good heritage, they do tend to be quite expensive. And I think also we must accept the fact that, a Honda CR-V, whilst it is a four-wheel drive, it is a soft roader, as they're known. This is not a serious four-wheel drive vehicle. So once again, with regard to the Honda, we're talking about compromise here. Okay, now, Land Rover Discovery. Now, this is going to appear probably on the top of most people's lists as the ideal 4x4, especially people who are into survival, the great outdoors, that sort of thing, proper off-roading. The Disco is certainly up there with the best. Okay, But because of that, once again, they can be quite expensive, even for an older model. These things aren't cheap, and obviously one of the main concerns with Land Rover is the potential for unreliability. I think they're renowned for not being the most reliable vehicles. The most modern ones are probably more reliable, but if I'm out in the middle of the Gobi Desert or somewhere right out in the middle of nowhere, I prefer to be in a Japanese model rather than a Land Rover Discovery. Okay, and a good competitor to the Land Rover Discovery, it might be something like the Toyota Land Cruiser, but that was another possibility. But the list can go on and on and on. Okay, so I've left it at these. So anyway, brief list of pros and cons for the vehicles which I shortlisted, and in order to actually make your decision, you do have various resources available, and the obvious one is the internet. I'll go to that now.